is the younger, more talented, better looking one who's bumping the camera and the tripod right now with his feet and stuff like that because he has trouble sitting still. We're still working on some things like that. He doesn't want to be on camera today because he's got some kind of a teenage blemish thing going on his face, and he's very uptight about it. So we just won't talk about that. Okay, he'll work the camera. I wanted to focus today. What's that? You're shooting me with your fingers. I don't understand. I wanted to focus today on a couple speaker tricks and things that I've learned with my Dumble style amps that Brandon Montgomery has made for me, and specifically wanted to focus on this Ripper that we actually have for sale. The part that I just played for you, believe it or not, was played with the clean channel. Let me do it one more time. Obviously, there's no shortage of overdrive in the clean channel, and that doesn't have the mid boost or the preamp bypass. Doesn't have any of those things kicked in. Mr. very famous, amazing Larry Carlton, whom I can't sound like even if I practice up, typically uses the clean channel to get a lot of his great sustaining, feedbacking overdrives. But I wanted to share a couple of secrets I've learned. First of all is speaker selection. Right now I'm playing through a vintage Alnico EV SRO. It's like early 70s with the original cone. It's in the black cabinet. And I'm doing one other trick that I'll tell you about in a minute. We're not using a loopulator, a buffered effects loop. We're just going from the amp's regular loop into a Nunaburr delay pedal. And obviously we're getting quite a bit of good overdrive. The amp can be clean. One of the lesser known Larry Carlton songs, but it can also do this. Nice sustained kind of overdriven but not compressed tone, and if you go to the overdrive channel with that same kind of setting, volume and everything, you really have the same voice. There's just a bit more compression. So anyway, we're going to stay on the clean channel for now. The other trick that I learned that I was going to tell you about, besides speaker selection, we'll go from a SRO to a 12S. Actually, let me just do that first. So here's the clean tone. And moving over to the 12S. And some of that sustaining stuff. Now you probably noticed that my chops suck. Besides noticing that my chops suck, you probably noticed that the 12S is a whole lot louder than the SRO. When you got into the 12S and 12L speakers in EV land, they became a lot more efficient. So we actually kind of like the SRO, besides its darker, creamier voicing, for the fact that it soaks up some of the amp's power, and you can turn the amp more without having the volume run away with you quite so much. But the other thing we like, and I'll do this with both amps, or with both speakers, is this other trick that I keep alluding to. Once upon a time, Ben and I went to Dallas and played a really incredible Dumble number 119. And we took one of these cabinets with us that had an 8 ohm 12S speaker in it. And I played the amp and I loved it. I played about more than a dozen actual Dumbles, and it was the best Dumble I've ever played. And I talked to Brandon about it and said, my Skyliner and my 80s Classic sound so close to that amp, but there was something about the way the highs compressed differently in that amp that I liked, that the Dumble did differently. And Brandon said, "Oh, that's easy." I said, "Great, what is it?" He goes, "Well, you were using an 8 ohm speaker." Yes. The old Fender transformers that were in that particular amp, that Dumble amp that I played, only had a 4 ohm tap. So Brandon said, if you'll change your tap to 4 ohms, you'll hear that extra compression in the high end immediately because it's a mismatch. It doesn't really hurt anything, from 4 to 8. But as a matter of fact, every time you ever heard Carlton play his old Dumble, it was a 4 ohm tap into an 8 ohm load. And that's where some of that comes from. Of course, Larry's fingers have a lot to do with it, as does a 335 versus a Les Paul. But I want you to hear this. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. So right now we're on the 4 ohm setting. Yep, 4 ohm setting with the 12S. Now go to the 8 ohm setting. Still in a clean channel. Kind of love that. We'll go back to the 4 ohm. You hear Mr. 335 harmonic feedback and stuff. And remember, clean channel. Now, I'm going to do the same trick back over here on this SRO speaker. We'll start on the 8 ohm tap. We'll go over the 4 ohm tap. It's just sweeter. It makes everything sound a little more vintage and a little more compressed, and we like it. So if you want the big uber clean tone thing, kind of like the SRO is probably a little bit dark for that. That's on the 8 ohm tap again, by the way. I think. Make sure. Yeah, that was the 8 ohm tap. Here's the 12S. Now, I love Larry Carlton, but he's not the only guy I love guitar-wise. And Larry actually uses 12L speakers, which are voiced a bit differently than the 12S's. The 12Ls probably have a little bit more highs, which makes them seem a bit flatter or maybe even scooped compared to the 12S. The 12S is more mid-presence, and I like the extra mid. So anyway, our choice has been to go with the 12S's. So anyway, I hope that kind of helps. I'm going to let you hear that one more time with that clean setting and the 8 ohm versus 4 ohm deal. Here's the 8 ohm again. Here's the 4 ohm. Anyway, you get the idea. A little more compression, a little more sweetness, shrinking the overall frequency response from the 8 ohm tap to the 4 ohm tap. It's just another way to voice the amp. That's it. Just wanted to let you hear that, and it's all out of the clean channel. Thanks so much.